Hey everybody, welcome back to Prophet Fridays. Today we are looking at Isaiah 34 and 35. Now, if you're anything like me and you've been reading and tracking along in the prophets, you may get to a point where you're like, okay, I get it. God is coming to judge the nations for their wickedness. He's going to set all things right. But why does this keep getting repeated? And why is it described in such graphic detail? I often get really tired of the violence and bloodshed and big cosmic things happening, and I wonder why that is. So today I actually want to look at a theme that runs through all the Bible, from the very beginning of the Bible all the way to the very end. And that is the idea of order and chaos. This is one of the most prominent themes, particularly in the Bible, but especially in the book of Genesis, where God creates the heavens and the earth and the stars and the earth and the moon and the seas and the birds and the plants and all of those things. And God does this by taking chaos, or what we might call the lack of life or vitality. He takes the void, the chaos, and he uses it and he transforms it and he creates life in it. So from chaos, order comes. Those two are opposite things. So before there's this swirling void of nothingness and chaos waters, and God takes that chaos, he controls it, and he forms it and shapes it into order and life. And so the opposite of chaos is order and life. And this gets described in Genesis chapter 1, and if you want to read through that again, that might be helpful. But through the book of Genesis, you see this return of chaos and order competing against each other, where God has designed life to thrive in a certain way, that it's ordered a certain way, it's designed a certain way, and yet humans continually push back on God's order and design. They themselves bring chaos into God's ordered, good world. And so we see in various stages, God actually uses the chaos that the humans bring themselves to wipe the slate clean. The most obvious one of this is the flood story, where the floodwaters come up. Now, the floodwaters are really indicative of chaos, because in the beginning, the chaos was just this sort of unfiltered water, this water that had no restraints and was sort of consuming everything, and God takes it and forms it and makes it into ordered life. And so what God does in the flood story is he allows the chaos represented by these floodwaters to come down from the sky and up from the earth to wipe the slate clean. God uses humans' own chaos, elevates it, in order to bring new life. So Noah and his family and all the animals get preserved, and the balance is restored for a time. And then humans continue to bring chaos into God's ordered world. And so what we see is God sort of uses the humans' chaos, and he runs with it and allows the chaos to sort of overwhelm the evil that is in the world and destroy itself so that new life can form. This is exactly what we see happening in chapters 34 and 35 in the book of Isaiah. God is bringing a case against the people, and particularly against Israel's neighbor, Edom, who joined with the Babylonians to invade God's people. So they are sort of the object of God's wrath in this scene, but they're sort of an image or a placeholder for every nation, every people that wants to bring chaos into God's ordered world. So what's Isaiah 34? Well, he uses that chaos, that bloodshed and violence and catastrophic things that humans bring into the world against them in judgment, that he has brought a case. They are guilty and of bringing chaos to his ordered world, and the only way to deal with it is to let that chaos take its full, run the full course, in order to basically make the landscape clean. He says that at the end of chapter 34, that all these animals, these unclean animals, will sort of populate the once populated city, that they will take ownership of things. And this is a sign of these unclean animals are anti-life animals, chaos animals, that have moved into town because all the humans have, wiped each other out. They've faced God's judgment, and we have this barren picture. But then chapter 35 changes. Gone is the barrenness, because God uses chaos to bring life. Out of the chaos that's there, and this is why that those images need to be so vivid, to remind people of how far they've fallen, of how much bloodshed and chaos and evil and injustice that they've brought into the world. God's going to, if that's what humans want to do, God's going to say, all right, well, I'm going to unleash the full force of the chaos that you bring to destroy you, to wipe the slate clean, because this is not what I want. This is not what's going to help humans to flourish and thrive. And so I'm going to use the chaos in order to bring order and life again. So chapter 35, after God has sort of done that, allowed humans' evil to run its course, we see a land that was parched but is now full of water, that was barren but is now teeming with life. And people are going to recognize that this is God's doing, that God judged those who lived against him, but they've been wiped away. The chaos that they've brought into the world has been turned back around onto them, and now life is allowed to thrive. So next time you come to passages just like this, whether it's in Isaiah or the other prophets, because it's rampant, it's all through the Bible, actually. As I said, from Genesis all the way to Revelation, the picture is the same, that the ultimate picture of God's judgment isn't God coming and smacking you around or anything like that. It's actually God allowing the evil that you bring into the world to turn back around onto yourself. And the reason why he does that is because God's ultimate desire is to bring goodness and life and order. And so, ultimately, this is how God works. He allows you, he sort of unchains the chaos that you bring and allows it to overwhelm you in the world in order that order and goodness in life might come again. So we are to be reminded when we get bogged down in these passages about God's judgment and justice and wrath, and like, why is this so vivid and hard to swallow? This doesn't seem a very nice thing. We're to remember that, well, God's desire is love and goodness and justice, and he's going to deal with the evil in the world. And the way that he often does that is by letting it turn back around on itself. That God uses chaos to bring life. And so it's actually a picture of God's goodness and his work, that he hasn't abandoned this world, but wants to see life thrive again. That's it. See you later. Bye.